Okay, welcome to the channel. Today we'll be discussing Mount Pelee, which is a volcano in Martinique. In three subtopics, we'll be discussing a specific eruption that occurred in 1902, positives and negatives of this volcano on the country. Part 1, Mount Pelee. Mount Pelee is a stratovolcano, and a stratovolcano is usually characterized of having alternate layers of lava flow, ash, and cinder. They also seem to have symmetrical sides. The eruption that occurred happened May 8, 1902, and the mountain is currently standing at an elevation of 1,397 meters and is still an active volcano in the country. First, we discuss how the government handled the responses. As you can see, the situation was handled so horribly, it's almost funny. We'll explain. First, at the time, Martinique was not an independent country, meaning that they were ruled by another country, which was the French colony. The French officials that were in charge underestimated the dangers of Mount Pelee because volcanology at the time was undeveloped. There was a significant amount of racism happening and cost cutting pressures for the country, which the French officials did not like. Most people were uneducated, making it even a worse situation. So when the volcano showed pre-eruption signs, they ran up to St. Pierre, believing it would be safer. Poor fools. I don't want to call them fools, but it's such a tragedy. A large scale evacuation was impossible because the road from St. Pierre to Fort de France was not properly maintained. So I guess the mother country did not took too kindly to the place. I do not know. The international aid came, but that only lasted for a short while. Why? The French conservatives started a media campaign against the blacks. Oh my gosh, this is just nerve wracking. Because of politics, St. Pierre was expected to elect candidates for public office. I'm not sure about what exactly the media said, but it was definitely negative. Remember, racism was prevalent at the time, and most of the population was black. So the public believed the media despite what they were saying was obviously false. But the common people didn't know, and the common people being the black people, of course, and sometimes other people. I'm not gonna say it's only black. And aid stopped coming in. The governor refused to let people evacuate and even placed troops, yes, military, around the city to prevent people from leaving. Back in the day. The French government got involved and they decided to evacuate the people to Fort de France. At first, they gave them provisions, money, etc., as a good government should do. But then there was a backlash from the public. They argued that one, why should the government give blacks money and provision when there were still so many poor white Frenchmen? Two, the government is making a mockery out of the working class by just handing out money to the refugees. And three, all of the refugees are from rural areas, and with so many of them, what would happen if disease broke out. And then international aid stopped coming, which was explained above. All of the criticism, plus not enough funds to keep the whole thing running cause of the French government to cave in and send all the refugees back, which was a bad idea, and you'll see why this was a bad idea. Then the volcano erupted once again, and a volcanic plug formed and collapsed. Couldn't find any responses to it, but it did kickstart the development of modern volcanology. So, at least one good thing came out of this. At least. So, since just to summarize everything for you guys so you're not bombarded with information, in a nutshell, the acting governor of Martinique mobilized the warship Suchet, I'm sorry about my French, to investigate the situation. They managed to rescue a number of severely burned victims who were either on ships, offshore, or were at the very edge of the volcano's pyroclastic flow. Charity organizations, governments, and private individuals offered aid in the form of monetary donations and goods. Countries that offered help include the USA, Canada, the UK, Germany, France, Italy, Denmark, Japan, Russia, and the Vatican. President Theodore Roosevelt of the US sent monetary aid and personal help with the rescuing victims. Thank you, President. The government issued evacuation orders to those living in the villages which were beneath the volcano. This in turn caused the city of Fort-de-France to be overcrowded with refugees. With that said, we're just going to look at the positives. Let's get out of the dark, gloomy situation and see what all this catastrophe and overpopulation and people's... Let's just get into this. Positives. Fertile soil and tourism. Even though this does not seem like a lot, the ash from the eruption falls and the soil, thus releasing valuable nutrients. The farmers and the country benefited a lot from this, meaning that there was an increase in food and also there were job opportunities for the farming industry. So that is a really big accomplishment. In tourism, just as in any Caribbean country, well, I'm not sure about that, but tourism is great for the economy and for securing jobs for the locals while satisfying everyone. The volcano attracted a lot of tourists as a tourist site that boosted the Martinique's tourist industry, and this is called nature tourism. It also continued to identify patterns, meaning that the eruption have helped scientists make predictions on possible patterns to help predict other eruptions so that better precautionary measures can be taken. Scientists have been studying these patterns so that the history does not repeat itself in this awful way. And then these are just pictures relating to the topic. Now for the gloom and doom. Most of the population, more than 30,000, was wiped out except for three survivors. As you know, if I can recall, the three survivors was a prisoner and a man and a little girl. I'm not sure on the background, but I know those were the 3 survivors. Air pollution. The air was completely contaminated with the ash clouds from the volcano, which could lead to sophistication. Okay, I'm not going to use that word. The city of St. Pierre busted into flames, destroying buildings, etc. The entire city was destroyed, leaving St. Pierre flattened as if it never existed. All of the island of Martinique was affected by the volcano, not only the city of St. Pierre. Just look at that. Oh my gosh, like and that's it for the video. Thanks for watching, and those were the positives and negatives on the Mount Pelee 1902 eruption.